Alright, so last match is going to be here. Just for the record, see how HaN versus Khrane went. And this is going to be finishing out the series on the last CPL map, Circuit Breaker. Once again, we're going to have an A-Team ZVP.
Yeah, this should be a good match as well. I mean, earlier we mentioned Khrane was most improved Protoss. His games have looked really strong. And HaN, I mean, he's a very strong Zerg player, very strong CVP.
Yeah, I mean, HaN entered the league as one of the strongest A-Teamers for sure. And as you say, Khrane, most improved Protoss. This is going to be fireworks. Oh yeah, we're in the replay overlay again. I gotta do all this stuff. Alright, starting out, we have HaN on the upper left corner as the red Zerg for Team CWA.
Alright. And in the top right, our brown Protoss from Team Beast, Khrane.
Oh, I totally didn't change the score from last game. My bad. But that's okay. I'll do it this time.
Alright, so Circuit Breaker is a little bit more of a standard map. Easier for Protosses to kind of just make a wall. All four positions are the same, or symmetrical, similarly. So it's pretty standard. You make like the same wall at every place you go. Pylon, Forge, Gateway.
Yeah, this map's also been around forever. It's kind of like Fighting Spirit Part 2. Just most people know this map very well. As you say, there's a lot of places for more bases, lots of minerals and available resources on this map. Easy walling. Just if you want to play that standard meta game, this is a great place to do it.
Yeah. We'll have to see if these players like to do it. I know I practiced a bit with HaN earlier in He did a few aggressive things against me.
Yeah, I think
run-bys and pressure.
One of the reasons I consider HaN a strong Zerg is because he has a lot of options in his toolbox. You get some Zergs who really fall into one style and that's all they do. I've seen HaN do all sorts of things. So it's really just going to be up to how he's feeling this game, what he sees from Khrane, and what his game plan is going to be. And those are the scariest Zergs to deal with because it's such a flexible race. If you have a player who's willing to do whatever he can with it, you're just on your toes at all times.
Yeah, that's part of what makes strong players strong, good, right? They do have all these different builds that they can kind of perform well. If you know your opponent's only good at one specific build, you can kind of plan your gameplay or your strategy around that, knowing they're probably going to do that, right? But if they're good at multiple different styles, you don't know what's going to hit you. You kind of have to be prepared for it.
Yeah, unless we're talking about the absolute top level like Korean pros, if you tell your build to your opponent ahead of time and they're even with you in skill level, you're probably not going to win.
Yes. We do see Khrane scouting the Zerg last. I would have liked to see maybe a Devil Scout come out from him, but he's just going to go ahead and play it safe with the 14 cannon, 15 necks here, which is fine.
Yeah, that's a good idea, I think. Certainly got a slightly later scout, so had to build a cannon before he knew the location or the builds, and now getting that Nexus at a pretty good time. Same for HaN, he's doing a pretty standard overpull opening, so far totally standard. We're going to see HaN opt for that mineral only as a third hatchery location, expanding towards the Protoss, but not super uncommon, and it is a lot farther to defend if you go down to the gas base at 9 o'clock. So not atypical to see this location at all.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of taking this space as a Zerg player in these positions. So as a Protoss player, I can kind of attack, multiple different angles at this base. And I can kind of expand behind my attack, right? I'll take that mineral only, and then I can take that low ground fourth while I'm attacking up into Zerg. It can certainly be fine, like especially if HaN's planning to do something more aggressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Having this hatchery closer to the Protoss means that if this does turn into like a 3-hatch Hydra or something, those Hydra appear that much sooner. So it is a trade-off in both ways. As you say, Protoss have ways to exploit this location, but they also have ways to exploit the 9 o'clock if they can just get control of this double bridge, which is incredibly hard for Zerg to push across if there's Storm in play. Then that base is very hard to reinforce.
Yes. So we'll have to see. Looks like HaN is opting to get a lair here. I don't think Khrane scouted that yet. He's just kind of going around the main. Probe is going to go down there now. And
Oh, no, it's just going to turn before it goes down. And so this is the kind of thing that you will see from Zergs who are very aware of how the opponent is thinking. Just by putting this lair at the natural, you know, Khrane has to be thinking, wait, is this not a lair build? Like, what is this? Is this some sort of 5-hatch with gas? Like, I need to be very prepared. Where it's just a standard normal build, but HaN is being very aware of what that probe can see and how Khrane is going to react to it. So I love little moves like that.
Yeah, and that goes back to what you mentioned earlier with just the little mind games or the little things that you make being a lower level player that are going on between players. Like, you know, the fact that he made this here is because the probe is in the main. It's like, okay, now Khrane doesn't know when I'm getting my lair or if I'm even, so he has to, you know, keep that in the back of his mind. Like, oh, am I doing 3-hatch Hydra or something? Khrane might have to play a little more defensively. The flip side for Khrane is like, okay, I know he could be building his lair somewhere else, so he knows he has to go and scout other bases, try and check for that.
I think HaN actually missed an Overlord. The Spire is down. He's at 27 of 27 and a lot of minerals floating.
Yeah.
That is probably a late Overlord, and that's going to throw his build a little bit. He really should have just made the hatches as the money was coming in. But as it is, that's going to delay him slightly here. So a bit of a mistake, which, you know, it certainly happens. Corsair is coming over now and is going to go straight in and scout, even though the probe got a decent level of information. We'll see exactly what tech path is coming and exactly the timing of that Spire.
Yeah, so he does see that the Spire is not finished, which means he can go ahead and hunt down and kill an Overlord before he has to worry about Scourge coming to kill his Corsair.
Yep, and we are moving into that standard 5-hatch position for Zerg. Hydralisk Den coming down now, and this Corsair will only kill a single Overlord just based on those timings, as long as HaN is on top of it and doesn't get supply blocked before the Scourge is coming. And it looks like that is the case. This Corsair should not be able to get another kill.
Correct, and he is turning those Corsairs around now. I imagine there are at least Scourge coming out for HaN, possibly even 6. Looks like yes, he is.
Now this is really interesting sunken placement. So I think HaN is aware that this mineral only is towards Protoss and is slightly vulnerable. So he opted to go for 2 early sunkens. I think that's a little bit sooner than he needed them, but that's probably fine. The placement of them is really interesting though, since it doesn't really cover you know, the attacking positions. It really just covers the mineral line. And so it kind of indicates to me that he's intending to defend this pretty heavily with drone micro, rather than just having a nice stance at these choke points with a lot of units.
Yeah, that is interesting. They do cover each other, but only in the drone line. That one sunken in the back is kind of like,
it's way back there.
Blocked by the minerals too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard to kind of get a surround on that spot, but it's also kind of far in the back. Like Khrane could pick off this one hatchery without getting hit by the sunken.
Yep, exactly. We do see a move out now, and it is a fair number of zealots, all +1 with the leg upgrade, and this is a really nicely timed build here. It's only 6, it could potentially be a couple more. It looks like 1 is actually going to the north to try to be, I guess, try to get another angle on attack, but I don't know if HaN is totally prepared. The Hydra count is a little low. He does have these 2 sunkens in this tight position, so we'll see how well that works out for him. And actually, his own drill is being blocked by that sunken, so I think he might need to have to be pulled even back farther if that's his intention to use the drones to defend against that.
Yeah, he does pick off the 1 sunken, but these zealots aren't going to find really any more damage.
Ooh, Corsair taking a ton of damage.
Yeah, oh, that 1 Corsair almost went down 6 health. He does get 1 of the Corsairs though, forcing them to turn around, and HaN's not going to take too much damage from that, and he should be fine here.
Yeah, really just losing the sunken. So that is always a good situation as a Zerg when you deflect that zealot attack and barely lose anything. Killing a couple more Corsair as well. Only 3 Corsair left. I see a 4th actually joining them, but the other 3 are all hurt. So HaN's in a decent position here, and it's gonna really come down to the timings and attacks that are coming for the next expansion for these players. So that's HaN's 4th and Khrane's 3rd.
Yeah, and meanwhile we do see Khrane getting up to 6 gateways now, just finishing. starting to macro out of them, and his robo facilities coming up along with Dragoon range. So he's going to be getting his obs out and his Dragoon mass going here fairly shortly, while HaN is taking a 4th base down in the bottom left.
Yeah, so this opens up a little bit of a timing window, which Khrane might be able to abuse when you have a Zerg who's attempting to go to 4th base, also getting his Queen's Nest, going to be going for Hive fairly shortly here, and really doesn't have that beefy defense, isn't investing heavily into colonies, doesn't have a ton of lurkers. It's very possible for a faster teching 2-base Protoss to have a nice timing window to attack. Looks like a window is going to be taken advantage of by Khrane here. He's going to use his Zealot and High Templar army, and a couple of good storms when it's mostly Hydra defense could be really devastating. Oh, going to catch these Corsairs out as well, so that is awesome from HaN. He's really killed a bunch of Corsairs this game with good Hydra movement.
For sure. I'd like to see Khrane maybe babysit those Sayers a little bit more, having lost so many unnecessarily to some Hydras, but also good plays by HaN to be in the path where the Sayers would go and pick them off.
I gotta say though, Khrane's macro looking on point. You know, really solid supply lead. You expect to see Protoss ahead a little bit, but this is quite a big army difference, I think. Taking his 3rd mineral-only expansion now towards the Zerg player, so that is going to be tougher for HaN and Khrane both to defend their expansions. But at this stage of the game, the stronger army definitely goes towards the Protoss player, especially if they can land those critical storms.
And Khrane is aware of this bottom left base now. He just scouted it with his Corsairs flying around, so still being really active with the Corsairs, which is what you want to do in this matchup. Khrane, you know, pushing these Hydras back, he's kind of forcing HaN to have to retreat. There's no way he can engage this army with this many storms.
Yeah, I would like to see HaN try to split off some units and get onto these High Templar that are lagging behind the Zealots a little bit. Looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. He does snipe one, the storm actually misses, and he might get a second one here. 2 High Templar down, both with a lot of energy. A really, really good move. Meanwhile, Khrane's actually losing his Corsairs, so kind of sloppy Corsair control throughout the game from Khrane, and HaN's been taking great advantage of that. So that is a really big plus. 2 Zealots coming down the bottom left, and it's actually drones being morphed there, so these Zealots are going to be a problem for HaN to deal with.
Yeah, meanwhile, Khrane is still continuing to pressure up here. He's got his Dragoons moving across now. He's going to be able to start using those Dragoons to start ranging down some of these buildings.
Yeah, the Dragoons really make it much tougher for the Zerg to engage. If it's just Zealot Templar, they can kind of sit back until that full-on committal attack from Protoss, but the Goons can just start doing damage, you know, from range just consistently. It's very tough to deal with that because you will have to engage into a fight you might not be ready for. Some decent storms coming down, but really mostly on his own Zealots. Flanks coming in from HaN, but there's barely any units there, and he's starting to take some decent damage here. The Sunkens are doing work, but he doesn't really have enough to completely clean up just yet.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I was saying. You got Khrane here taking that 4th base.
Oh, a massive storm on top of the drones.
Very nice, very nice. And Khrane does manage to kill that hatchery of HaN's in the bottom left.
Yeah, so HaN actually using some units to try to clean that up and save it, but unfortunately loses the hatchery, and now those units aren't here to reinforce, so he's taking additional damage up at the top that he shouldn't have taken. So Khrane is starting to get fairly far ahead in this fight, although now that the Lings have gotten on top of the Goons, he really should be retreating. That is not a good trade for the Protoss player.
Yeah, but he's still looking really strong here, taking that 4th base. If he does lose all these goons, it's going to open a little opportunity here for HaN to potentially pressure down and deny this 4th base.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of units kind of poised around the double bridge area for HaN. I think he's looking for an attack onto the 3rd, and that's exactly what's happening. There is a cannon there for defense, but that's quite a few Zerglings. It looks like he's going to ignore the cannon, just target the Nexus, and I think he's going to get it.
Yeah, just a handful of Lings taking down that Nexus. Khrane is going to bring his units back to kind of defend here, but it's too little too late. The Nexus does go down, and honestly, this is the kind of moves Khrane needs to make at this point. He needs to stop the Protoss from getting these bases up, or he's just going to fall behind, especially after losing that base himself.
Yeah, HaN trying to go full on aggression here, trying to take out the 12 o'clock as well, and if he could get both that mineral only and the 12 o'clock at this timing, that would be absolutely fantastic. But Khrane moves his army into position a little too quickly, and I don't think there's an opportunity now. Trying to funnel down this ramp when there's Templar and army to block is not a good idea. You're just asking for a massive storm. but at the same time, I don't think Khrane can really push up.
No, there's a lot of stuff there. Han is morphing a few lurkers here as well. Once he gets Reavers and a few more Templars and Storms in here, he can start just storming up this ramp, using Obs kind of for vision, storm whatever units he can, or just fire up with some Reavers. He's going to be a little bit before he can do that stuff.
Now these are really late lurkers, but they are coming at a really nice time where, you know, the armies are just like trench warfare here right next to each other. And having these lurkers be able to sort of defend this ramp position is a very strong move. Also morphing what looks like be a sunken colony as well. So Han is just bolstering his defenses and going to keep Khrane from moving in. Now Khrane has secured his 4 bases. That mineral only nexus is about to be finished. But Han has actually double expanded and has a massive conga line of drones coming down, so his economy is about to explode.
Oh wow, that is a lot of drones just coming and moving across the map.
Yeah, just completely undefended, just hoping that there is no army there. And I think that's a safe assumption when you see this much here at the 12 o'clock position, to know that there's no possibility of Khrane having a ton elsewhere. Now actually Khrane going to try to push up this ramp into lurkers. Dodges the storm as well, so honestly that is not a good call. I don't think this is going to go well for him if he persists.
Yeah, ending up making a spore out of that instead to pick up Obs. Don't mind that. You won't be able to see these lurkers though. He is still going up here. He's not trading very efficiently at this.
This is a nice timing because there's a lot of lurkers murphing. They have not had a chance to finish spreading out and burrowing. He could potentially do some decent damage, and there's not a lot of army here. It looks like there was a bunch of armies sent down to the bottom left. I think there was a couple of zealots or something there. But once again, distraction down there leading to damage up here at the 3rd. And these lurkers absolutely need to burrow. They've been completed, but they're just getting shot around and running around aimlessly. They really need to get control of this position.
Yeah, and now we're seeing the problem of taking this base as an early 3rd. Like, Khrane is able to just kind of expand while pushing behind. Looks like Han is maybe just going to be able to hold this. I would like to see a couple more storms a bit earlier, a little bit late. But, I mean, if Khrane's control was a little bit better there, he would have absolutely taken out this base. And that's one of the problems of taking that. If you can't defend it, it's a lot harder to defend. You could just lose it while Protoss is still defending their own bases.
Yeah, and honestly, it was a well-timed attack too. Those 5 lurkers were in position just a little bit earlier, then I don't think he would have even made it up that ramp. As it is, the dust has settled for now, but the bases being so uncomfortably close means that there is going to be constant fighting there. Han checking the bottom right to see if there's additional bases, finding nothing there. That's probably going to make him pretty happy. But he needs to make sure that he gets his defenses because he's now split across the top left and the bottom left corners, and it's going to be very tough to adequately defend against the 4-base Protoss in both locations.
Especially now that Khrane is getting his Reavers out. He's got that first Reaver just about done on Robotics Support Bay, and he's going to be able to like slow push up the ramp, or he's going to get some shuttles out and start adding Reavers into his unit composition, and that just makes things a lot harder for Zerg. If you can't kill those Reavers quick, they just trade so efficiently with their Scarabs. Like 15 Scarab just does so much damage to everything around them.
Yeah, and it looks like Han has scouted this 3 o'clock position. There's only a handful of Zealots and a Templar, and it looks like Han smells blood. He's going to try to make an attack there and shut that base down, which would be an absolutely fantastic move if he can make it happen. There is a storm available, and it is a tight choke, but he's got a lot of units here. Preemptively burrowing one of the lurkers, one of the storms hits, and it kills quite a few Zerglings, but there is too much Zerg here. This base is very likely to go down.
Yeah, and he needs this base to go down. He can't let the Protoss take another base if he wants to stay in this game. If Protoss gets up to 5 bases and able to hold it, this position, it's going to be a lot harder for Zerg to get any control in this game. But as it is, he does deny the space for now. He is going to lose his whole army here. But
yeah, but Zergs are okay with that.
Yeah.
It's actually, I love the control out from Han. He has the presence of mind to snipe that observer, knowing that there's not a ton of value he's going to get out of these units. Kills the probe as well, and actually moving up to try to get some high Templar snipes, which he's going to find, so getting as much value as possible out of these dead units.
Yeah, very nice moves. Actually gets all of the Templars there.
Yeah,
very
well
nice.
Worth it, because that is just 1 storm worth of units killing 3 Templar. It looks like even though the economy at the bottom left has now been established, he might have transferred a few too many workers, just now kind of resaturating that mineral only. But we do have a high-tech Zerg here, And I really wonder if he's going to be able to get something done with these first few defilers. Looks like he's starting now, but there are Reavers at this location. And Reavers don't really care about Dark Swarm.
No, it's not really a viable attack into for defensive positions here like this, especially if you only have a handful of links like that. You definitely need a lot more to break that position. And meanwhile, Khrane is now reestablishing his 5th base here that he tried to take a little bit of earlier.
One thing I'd love to see out from HaN is a Nidus Canal. I don't see any signs of one, but when you are this split across 2 positions, those Nidus Canals are just overpowered. I mean, use everything you have at your disposal to be as strong as possible. Hive-Tech Zerg should be prioritizing a Nidus Canal when you're this split across the map. Looks like Khrane is going to expand to 3 o'clock again, and this time he has brought a couple more units and has bought enough time to get those cannons up, so it is going to be harder to press into here. But HaN does have units out on the map. Looks like he might be going for the bottom right where there's only a lone pylon, but just staying active enough to really stop Khrane from getting any foothold on the map.
Yeah, HaN did have 3 Zerglings there that managed to pick off the probe before it could get a Nexus down, which was very nice. We do see a pretty big engagement coming here. I'd like to see some storms coming up from Khrane though.
Yeah, and this is coming with Darkstorm as well, and Dark Swarm over these Archons and Goons is really, really effective. It makes these Lings so much stronger. Didn't look like they quite had the Crackling upgrade yet. Oh no, they do. I take that back. So, you know, this is a very, very cost-effective trades that HaN has been doing. Additionally, Khrane has been floating quite a few minerals. That's kind of one of the aspects of this game where you have a mineral-only base. You're going to have a lot of extra minerals compared to your gas. And you really need to start spending it, because if that was 4,000 mins of zealots, you know, he could do so much more in more places on the map.
Yeah, he couldn't even have, he doesn't even have the supply for all those zealots either at this point, but if he had those, like, he could be doing little moves like you said. He could maybe deny this mineral only that HaN has just taken, even just like little backstabs with zealots here and there, or, you know, doing some drops, zealot drops like we saw Shoop do in that PvP. You could drop some zealots in HaN's main, just cause headaches for him, little problems here and there.
Yeah, it looks like HaN is really, really insistent that that bottom right base cannot go to Khrane. He is continually sending units there. There's nothing really there to kill, but he is making sure that he's finding whatever trades he can, and maybe even trying to set it up for himself. A couple of storm dodges as well. This storm absolutely hits. That is a beautiful storm. There are so many Templar here just asking to be killed by some Zerglings, but they're actually just going to move themselves into some Lurker field, and that is going to kill 2 Templar, pulling back now. But when you see undefended Reaver and High Templar out in the middle of the map, that is just a lost opportunity for Zerg. It's a shame he didn't have just a few more units.
Yeah, at this point though, we see Zerg just kind of expanding all across the map. He's now gearing up to take that 6 o'clock base. Hatchery just started there. He's getting a lot of bases. He's going to be able to just start macroing like crazy. He's caught up a little bit in supply. If Khrane isn't able to secure another base, I think the Zerg is eventually going to just be able to outproduce and overrun him.
Absolutely. I mean, you need to at least get to a map split situation, so 1/4 of the map doesn't count as a total map split. Khrane's still not really doing his spending justice there. I mean, there's a lot of resources coming in. He really needs some more gates to get some units out. Hasn't been maxed yet. And as you say, HaN has been evening up that supply count. Now going for a massive attack on the 3 o'clock. A lot of splash damage units here, so it's going to be a pretty ineffective trade. But he's actually going to go and set up a lurker field on the double bridge, which is going to make Khrane really incapable of sending reinforcements to that location.
Pretty scrappy. We're fighting on kind of 2 sides here. The Reaver's getting so much value defending this, but he is going to kill off all of Khrane's army here and take a supply lead now.
Yeah, Reaver's Storm does a ton of damage. I mean, that is a lot of value there, but unfortunately Storms run out and Reavers cannot kill everything. They have a nice delay between their shots. So once a Swarm comes and these reinforcement Lings show up, that base is probably going to fall unless it can get reinforcements, but those reinforcements have to go through this lurker field. So really well played by HaN to just control the map and just absolutely really, really well executed attacks.
And now he's going to attack into this base again. Don't know if Khrane is going to be able to fully defend this. Well, HaN is actually gearing up to take the bottom right bases. He's got a couple of drones waiting to take those as well. If he can get and secure those, I don't think there's anything Khrane is going to be able to do.
Yeah, this is really solid play out from HaN. Just controlling the map. He was under a lot of pressure early game, got a lot of damage. There's actually a Reaver drop at his mineral only, which is doing a ton of damage, might take out the hatchery as well. So Khrane is not out of this game yet, but he is going to lose this base, it looks like. There are no moves to send units down here to save it, and even if there were, pushing across this location is a tall order. So Khrane has resulted to harassment-based tactics, but at the same time that this is happening, HaN is just growing out of control.
Yeah, he is going to lose that base, and critically, Khrane doesn't have a lot of minerals left in his natural or his his mineral only or his fourth base. So if he can't establish himself again, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. It looks like he's going to lose his natural here as well.
Yeah,
and
HaN has...
the Zerg Swarm is just too much.
He's largely ignored these Reavers. He's finally taking out the shuttle with some Scourge, but he's really just persisting on the attack, going to take out the natural. And, I mean, there's almost nothing Khrane can do, and there is the GG. Really strong game out from HaN. I was worried for a little bit in terms of him defending against those early attacks, but once he got established, that late game control and really well executed attacks with Swarm were just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and if we look at the resources here, like Khrane has banked up a ton of minerals. If that was into units, he would be still in a good position in this game. He could have taken out a lot more of HaN's stuff.
I think that is a big story here. Khrane just really needing to keep that macro under control, dealing with that income from that mineral only, and modifying his build accordingly. You can really get more gates and zealots with that, more cannons, etc. That just needs to be baked into your game plan when you're playing big macro games on maps with mineral onlys. But really good game between these two. Khrane most improved Protoss, definitely showing a really high level compared to week number 1. Oh, lost your Snipe. Wonder if are you still on Discord?
Yeah, hello.
Alright, cool. And then HaN showing why, he remains one of the top players in the CPL. That was really strong play.
Yeah, for sure. From both players. Like, it was a really well played game, a nice game to end up on.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we watched it. It ended up, the series official score will be, I guess 2-4, but that is a really nice finale for the Season 3 playoffs here. Stay tuned for more events coming down the pipeline. There's going to be some planning phases for CPL, so all of you guys who enjoyed CPL this season, please chime in with your feedback on that thread. I'll be putting that up this week. If you aren't a member of CPL this season and want to get in, if you've been enjoying these games, feel free to sign up for next season. We're going to be opening things up a little bit in terms of, making sure that people have an even match. So a lot of those guys who are at the lower end, if you're new to StarCraft or you're just, you've been laddering and just not winning anything, CPL, we're going to have a group of you guys all to yourself. We had A and B split. We're going to try to split it up a little bit more so that those players have competitive games. Snipe, is there anything you want to say in closing here?
No, just adding on to what you said, like, look for some events coming up here in the next few weeks. There's going to be some planning. I don't know when Season 3 is going to be slated to start, but we will keep you guys all informed and updated on that. But once again, thanks to everyone who tuned in, watched the cast, enjoyed and participated in CPL one way or another, and congratulations to Team Beast for winning CPL Season 2.
Absolutely. So guys, stay involved. We're going to have events, and look for that feedback thread, and I will see you all next time.